Here we go. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another Team Florida webinar. We're pleased today to have Best Pass here to talk about Commercial Payment Hub today. We're excited to have John Andrews, Heather Nolan, and Joe Clavel with us today. So, first off, I'd like to thank you all for being here. Second is the webinar is being recorded and will be posted online for Team Florida members. Attendees, please use the Q&A feature located in the Zoom control panel to post questions. We will answer questions at the end of the session. Finally, Team Florida will be issuing continuing education credit for Team Florida members who registered and attend today's webinar. We're also proud to now offer AICP continuing education credit for Team Florida members. So Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Barbara. Thanks to you and to Team Florida for giving us the opportunity. Happy New Year, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well through these crazy times. We're looking forward to new things and new challenges in 2021. So quickly, I'll just introduce who's on the call today. Heather Nolan, our Senior Vice President of Product Growth. She's based in Albany, New York. John Andrews, our President and Chairman of the Board, as well as Chief Strategy Officer, is calling in from South Carolina. He's battling COVID, so if he coughs, please forgive him, but he hasn't missed a day of work, so he's a trooper, that's for sure. And then, of course, myself, I'm Cousin Eddie, based in Canada, and happy to be on the call. So to get started, I guess I would just take us through what we're going to talk about today and take away. So John's and Heather are going to go through how commercial fleets view North America as a tolling system and an ecosystem, and then how Best Pass fits in there, why the local discounts matter. And I guess what could be top of mind is to realize that these are business people, so they don't like to pay maximum toll. They want to, of course, get the most desirable toll rate they can. Then we're going to go through what John has coined as mobility payments as a service. And we all hear and talk about mobility as a service, but really where we come in is in terms of payments, clearing those payments and having interfaces that you can have a device, whatever it might be, but if it's not connected to a backbone or a platform to connect payments, it's really just a device. So John and Heather will go through what we try to do for our customers in terms of reducing costs for both agencies and our customers, provide more value-added services, and then deal with a win-win-win. So if we look at in terms of the next slide in our intro, I'm doing that quickly. John will do the background history, and then probably together, John and Heather will go through the interoperability of commercial fleets and how we fit as an alternative commercial hub and toll payment hub. So we're really a hub for our customers, and we want to be and like to be for all the agencies we deal with. There are some agencies that we don't currently deal with, but we would love to, and finding a way to do that because our customers want to pay their toll. Getting a violation or a paper notice to pay a toll costs them money and time. They're paying their staff people, and the toll is one thing. The added cost of processing paper and calling into customer service center is something they can't recoup generally. So just to give some quick statistics before I turn it over to John, and you may have seen a press release this last week, we surpassed 1.2 billion in toll paid in 2020. And that's actually up from 2019. So despite COVID, it shows that commercial vehicles are still moving through COVID and are essential to our supply chain and of course, everyday operations for things we buy and use. So that 1.2 billion was spread across about 12,000 customers and approximately 2.5 million tractors, trailers, and then power units from 2 axles on up. And so we use a mix of local transponders and also multi-protocol transponders, as well as plates, to try and get maximum coverage for our customers and then pay as many of the agencies as we can, as efficiently as we can. And so that'll be the meat of the presentation, and I'll pass it on to John to take over.
Thanks so much, appreciate it. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to take a little bit of time here and talk about Best Pass a little bit, to kind of set the groundwork of where we fit in the toll ecosystem, along with commercial fleets, which is a niche that we have done very well with for the past 10 years or so. So the business of Best Pass. So basically, we started back in 2001. We were launched off by the New York State Motor Truck Association, or now they call themselves the Trucking Association New York, as a local New York State thruway discount program for their members. What was happening is that the folks at the New York State Motor Truck became experts in toll issues, and they started attracting non-toll members. So that expanded the business over time to include Pennsylvania and New Jersey through companion accounts. Basically, then that rolled up. I became CEO as I'm a software engineer back in 2009. I was brought on board to continue to grow the business. We think we were processing about $15 million back then annually in total toll volume, and they brought me on to try to see if we could provide more service to the trucking company. So our roots are very much embedded in trucking. We answer to trucking. That is our focus. Our revenue is from trucking. Our service fees, all of our profitability comes from our customers directly. In reality, tolling is about 45 independent tolling authorities. For a trucking company, that introduces a unique challenge for your own staff. You have to become experts in 45 different tolling authorities. Even if you have accounts everywhere, it becomes a problem. 75 to 95% of the toll vehicles out there are local. So that creates the opportunity that BestPass has stepped into. Most of the focus of the tolling authorities in their back office and their software and everything is around the bulk of their customers, which makes perfect sense. But again, it has left this niche that BestPass has pretty much dominated for the last 10 years or so. So thing to keep in mind about BestPass is we own 100% of the transponder cost, 100% of the payment, risk mitigation and collections efforts nationwide, and 100% of the customer service. So any customer with BestPass has to work through BestPass, and then BestPass works with our tolling partners across the US. Our revenue is completely subscription-based, so we have to make sure that our fleet customers are happy and satisfied, or they can leave us. They can open up toll accounts with tolling authorities and do this by themselves. So we were very much value-driven to make sure that we provide value on a monthly basis. We do not have long-term contracts. We're month-to-month subscription. So, and I'm very proud to say that we do not lose customers. There's one trucking company that left us who just returned to us last year. And actually during COVID, they returned to us. So we have a very good track record. We have national reach, but we are very much a local partner. I think that's one key thing to point out here. We provide national service to our trucking fleets, but we operate very much like a local trucking company to our tolling partners. That's a unique twist, and it's something I think we bring unique value to the situation with. We are committed to reduction of overhead for all. That is one of our founding principles. As we try to remove the cost from trucking, we end up removing the cost from tolling. And that has driven a lot of most of, not all of our success. We provide a single bill, single payment, and a single point of service. That is our core selling pitch to a FedEx, a UPS, and a single owner operator truck. They can go anywhere in the country and make one call to us, receive one bill from us, and be able to provide payment and distribution of prepaid funds smoothly and evenly across the US. So this diagram here kind of points out how we sit. I like to compare us to Amazon. Amazon doesn't actually make the goods that it sells. It just brokers the vendors that have the goods and the folks that want to buy the goods. So we provide that service in the tolling ecosystem. So we have the tolling providers on your right, and then the trucking companies on the left, and we connect those two ecosystems very well. This is our toll network. Everything in green is currently live and active and flows through our systems. Where you see the light gray are coming on board in 2021. There's not much left. There's a lot of the smaller toll facilities. We're just bringing on American roads now as we speak, down in Alabama, and then their bridge up in Detroit. Then we have Louisiana, Utah, and Oregon, which are smaller bridge facilities. And then a big effort of ours is the bridges into the US and Canada and US into Mexico to finish the footprint for our fleet operators. Joe hit some of these numbers already. I'm just going to hit on some big ones. Obviously, we hit 1.2 billion in 2020, and that's through COVID. So like everybody else, we saw a radical decline in all kinds of activity in March, April, but we rebounded. Trucking obviously has been keeping this country moving along and keeping all the Amazon packages flowing to people sitting at home. As you can see, we're up a little bit from 2019, but we're up significantly over the life of the business. We process quite a bit of transactions annually. We're sitting at about 12,000 accounts, active accounts right now, and just under 700,000 power units. But a total number of power units with transponders, I should say, but a total number of vehicles of about 2.5 million. The reason why we break out those separately is there's these things called trailers in trucking that do not require or can't have a transponder. So we end up managing a large number of license plates across the US. This map here kind of shows you where our client base is. We started in the Northeast, but as you can see, our client distribution by account, home location, that's what this map represents, can show you where we operate across the US. So commercial fleets interoperability in the North American tolling ecosystem. It is a complicated matter for commercial operators to operate in. I'm going to try to kind of share with everybody what is seen from the commercial side of the business when they look at tolling. So basically, from a fleet operator's point of view, they look at tolling as very much focused on 2 cars in a driveway, as we like to call it in the office. It's a system geared towards the commuters and local users, 1 to 2 cars per household, a steady volume, the same drivers, same travel patterns. They don't go interoperable. They don't go to other facilities. It's pretty stable compared to what a FedEx or UPS would do. Commercial services generally exist in especially some of the larger facilities, but they're local in execution. So if you're a FedEx or UPS and you call, say, the New York State Thruway and participate in their commercial plan, you only can talk to them about the New York State Thruway. You then have to pick up the phone and talk to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Kansas, Colorado, Oklahoma. That creates a back office cost, which we'll talk about a little bit later. That is truly where the cost of tolling impacts commercial fleets. Local discounts are a big factor in commercial fleets. Obviously, if you're a commuter, you receive the benefit of a local discount. But if you're a trucking company and your home office is in, say, Arkansas, you may not necessarily receive that local discount. So local discounts are a big factor in what we do. We provide local discounts to a national fleet. There's 2 maps I'm going to show everybody. These are my favorite maps. This is how the country is seen from a commercial fleet operator's point of view. Okay, they see the country, they see a road network. This is where they work. This is where they operate. This is where they flow through the country. And generally speaking, this is how the tolling ecosystem is seen. So this is the United States of tolling, and it is a patchwork quilt of capability. Now, when you mesh the map of the United States as a road network on top of this network of agencies that are operating toll facilities, the 2 collide quite violently sometimes. And it's here that Best Pass turns this map back into a cohesive coast-to-coast map. Commercial fleet types. I think it's very important to understand that not all commercial fleets are cut from the same cloth. There are 4 major types, and I'm going to touch on these briefly as a kind of a bedrock to what we're going to be talking about a little bit later. We have a long haul or regional haul trucking company. These are going to be your FedExes, your UPSs. If you know trucking, Prime, JB Hunt, well-known names like that are driving their trucks for service to other companies. They're generally long haul, they're regional. Those trucks are moving, and they're like an airline. When they're moving, they're making money. When they're sitting still, they're not. Then you have what we call as a national local. This is a national fleet with a local operation. So what's an example of that? Lowe's would be an example of that. Spectrum Cable TV would be another example. Safelite Autoglass, another example. They are a national fleet. All the vehicles are registered to corporate on a national level, but the vehicles operate within 10 to 20 miles of whatever location they're operating from. Then we have what we call local occasional long haul trucks. So these are local businesses. The vehicles are registered local, but they occasionally have national travel. So what examples of that would be? You have specialized delivery services would be one. You also have tree trimming services during times of national emergency, utilities and whatnot. These are not trucks that are typically on toll roads, but occasionally they have to do that. And then obviously the 4th category is local businesses. So 100% of the local business, they operate locally. They may travel a local toll road. They register their vehicles locally. There's very little long distance travel. Generally, I'm not going to talk about this segment because this segment is actually served very well by tolling authorities. But the first 3 are key to where Best Pass lives. I'm not going to hit these in detail. I'll just touch on some points here. Here are your long haul examples. You got your FedEx, your Walmart, JB Hunt. They are hauling goods regionally or nationally to stores or other locations. They travel many states and many toll facilities with a single vehicle. They don't like to see their trucks sitting still, so they want these trucks traveling a lot of miles, high miles. And then this segment also includes owner-operators, and these are 1 to 5 vehicle small companies that are augmenting a lot of these larger long-haul companies. And there's about 3 to 5 million vehicles in this segment. And BestPass, again, is serving about, give or take, if you look at our numbers, about 400,000 of these vehicles. So as you can see, there's a lot of vehicles still not served by BestPass in this segment. National, local, we touched on this. I gave you the names. You got your Lowe's, your Progressives, your Pepsis. These are the vehicles that don't go long haul. School districts are a great example of a segment that sits in here, where they travel for field trips or sporting events, where they may travel a toll road, but they're generally, the school buses are dropping kids off and on to school around the house. One of the 2 good names I want to point out here are Lowe's and AT&T. AT&T came to us. They have over 90,000 vehicles of every shape and size, 2-axle to 5-axle, tractors, you name it, they've got it all. They came to us not for discounts or not for the ability to provide a national transponder, but management. Get a handle on the 90,000 vehicles, put the right transponder in the local vehicles, and then make sure that they're paying the optimum toll and not overpaying, and definitely not handling violations via toll by plate. Again, in this segment, it's about 2.4 million vehicles that sit here conservatively. There's probably a lot more, but that's the number we run with. And lastly, we have the occasional long haul. These are going to be your local regional companies, power companies, your U.S. military when they go on deployments, mutual aid. Anytime there's an event in the U.S. and you have these companies that are going all over to aid in other states and other locations. They are typically low toll volume companies that occasionally run toll roads. So this is a unique niche. They're typically toll by plate too. So fleet interoperable toll challenges. So the utopian message that the industry is trying to put forth of an interoperable system has some challenges that I think BestPass definitely will still serve and still fill long after a single device and single bill becomes a reality in the system, which we see is coming. Out-of-state registration is always going to be a problem. License plates are a challenge. You have the same number, different state. Right, that's just the craziness of license plates. So BestPass manages that. We make sure that these fleet management vehicles fleet management systems are registering their plates with us, and we make sure the plates get properly registered as backup to our various accounts across the country. Toll payment flow to a central office. One of the biggest things we provide is, say, FedEx is their home office. FedEx Freight home office is in Arkansas. Well, a lot of times the folks in that office have no idea how the toll roads work in New York or in Washington State or in California. So they are very much in the blind, but yet have to interact with the toll agencies and understand roads that they don't necessarily travel. So very different city states that they have to jump in on. And BestPass also provides that kind of centralized question and answer type environment. We are experts in all these different facilities, and FedEx can call us and talk to us, and we know how to deal with their issues, which actually in the end of the day frees up their folks to come off tolling issues and back onto trucking issues, which is really where they need to be. Typically, a tolling agency will interact with a customer one-on-one, but a FedEx, like I just pointed out, will have to interact with up to 30 to 40 different tolling agencies. That's a lot to ask of a single staffer that's trying to manage the deployment of toll transponders, pay bills, deploy funds properly to accounts. Administration cost is the real pain. I think I just said that. That is really where the toll cost sits. Toll by itself can be passed through to the consumer. You and I will cover the cost of the fuel, the truck, the driver, and toll. Where trucking companies and commercial fleets have a challenge is in their back office. When a violation comes in 30, 40, 60, 90 days later, and they have to process that, that is a cost, an overhead piece that they cannot recoup. And ultimately, that is where commercial carriers struggle with tolling. Violations and ad hoc paper bills, like I just said, that when they're late, they are costly. They cost people to come off their primary role to deal with. We provide a single high-tech license plate registration. That doesn't exist. If you're FedEx or UPS or even a small operator, and you need to open up 4, 5, 6 accounts across the US and register your plate because plates generally are not interoperable, that's a lot of work for a company to do that. So again, BestPass steps in there and fills that need with being able to, you give us the plate and walk away, you're all set. And then obviously we provide a single device at no cost and discount rates. So the challenge you have is these multi-protocol national transponders have to be registered somewhere. The challenge that brings in for trucking companies is they lose their local discounts. So we actually deploy a mixed solution of where a national go everywhere, or we call it a do everything bagel, works. That works, but we also will deploy a local transponder where it makes sense. A great example of that is Lowe's. There is no reason why Lowe's needs to outfit their vehicles with a national capable multi-protocol transponder, right? A Lowe's sitting in Miami can sit and work with a SunPass tag. A Lowe's up in New York can sit and work with a Thruway tag. We provide that level of service. What's key to our business to understand is we are not in the business of transponders. We're in the business of service, billing, and payment. That is our core business. So as the industry begins to solve the interoperability challenges, which it looks like is finally happening after my 10 years here, BestPass will continue to thrive because at the end of the day, we're not solving the transponder issue. We are solving the customer service issues and the smoothing of money and the making the toll infrastructure aligned to the interstate system from a commercial user's point of view. So one thing I want to point out here, and then Heather, please jump in if you have any added thoughts, is that as the industry is evolving, as we become interoperable, there's a lot of things converging that BestPass very much is wrestling with in our situation. You have multi-protocol readers, which are being deployed. So you got your 6C, your CGO, and your TDM. Then you have your multi-protocol transponders. These are manufactured transponders that have multi-protocols in them, 6C, CGO, and TDM. But then you have this concept, and I give Heather all the credit in the world, of a multi-protocol vehicle. This is an unmanaged scenario that is going to exist, right? If you don't have a BestPass and you don't have a PrePass, or you don't have another company that's providing a multi-protocol transponder, you're going to end up with trucking companies that will get multiple transponders to maximize their discounts locally. So this is a scenario, this is actually something that Heather, Joe, and I go around the country and talk to tolling authorities about. This is coming. This is not a BestPass problem. This is a consumer using the toll facility issue that's coming. There will be multiple transponders in the window. It has to be dealt with. We have to make sure we don't double bill. So interoperability is not utopian for fleets. It's great for the vacationer. It's great for somebody that's traveling from New York and going to Orlando and they get it on their bill. That's fine. For fleets that are trying to maximize and reduce costs, maximize usage and reduce costs of overhead, interoperability could actually introduce more cost to the system, which is something we would love to have conversations with anybody that would like to have those conversations. So Heather, I don't know if you have any thoughts after saying that.
You know, I think you covered it well. Just saying that a lot of the fleets, you know, like John said, will put multiple transponders in potentially to try to achieve those local, but it's the management. You have a fleet who's got, you know, 80,000, 100,000 vehicles, and even in the best of intentions of getting trucks outfitted correctly out on the roads, it doesn't always happen exactly the way everybody plans. So again, having the capability, the technology, the logic to be able to determine and drive the best transaction processing and payment based on the information we have, as opposed to necessarily having all of the registration 100%, I think is something that's going to be key going forward.
So real quickly, the real cost of tolling to fleets, the toll usage fee, like I said earlier, is not the issue, right? Companies, businesses know how to take their costs and manage them very well. Toll cost is a part of their business. Fuel cost is a part of their business. A driver is a part of their business. That's not an issue. They can build it in. They can charge us. They can cover it. Not a problem. Where they do have a problem is when the costs, the administrative costs, jump up and hit them 20, 30, 60 days later. And they are trying. I can tell you from talking to all of our customers, they are trying to play by the rules. It's not simple. It's not a clean system to work in. Toll by plate, which we'll be talking about in a second here, is not interoperable. So where they think they register a plate in New York and EasyPass, it may not work. It won't work in Texas. It will not get down there. That creates all kinds of IT issues, administration issues, integration with their fleet management system issues. And then that creates obviously violations in toll by plate flees. And all of that drives up cost for a commercial fleet. BestPass comes in here and we eliminate a lot of that. We will register plates and make sure the toll flows through as quickly as possible, again, so they can bill it back out to their customers and do their business.
So John, I might jump in here quick. Suzanne Murphy asked a question, and I think it relates to blockchain and basically thoughts on how a distributed ledger system can be used to facilitate back office interoperability. So I'll give my perspective and then I can get you and Heather to fill in. So I'm not a technical person, but what I've heard about in the blockchain theory is that it'd be like a wheel, and that you go around the wheel until somebody hit it and digested that transaction. I'm not sure if that's true or not, Suzanne, but for John and Heather, that's my thoughts. And of course, for me as a non-technical guy, my first thought is if everyone's connected to the wheel, great. If not, then it's similar today, where if there's not, those interfaces don't exist, then that's would be limiting that that system of interoperability. But from certainly glad to hear your perspective.
No, the only color I would add to that is that blockchain introduces the same problem that toll introduced. Trucking companies are not here to figure out how to technically interact with the tolling world or the infrastructure. So we embrace blockchain when it makes sense and it works. BestPass will absolutely interface with blockchain and then allow our users to interface with us as they see fit. That's kind of our model. We are the glue that hooks together disjointed things. So we watch blockchain, we're paying attention to it. But right now, if there's no supply and demand, like Joe says, then it sits there as an alternative to good old-fashioned Visa, MasterCard, and ACH. So Heather, I don't know if you have any thoughts.
Yep, no, I think you guys covered it well.
Okay, this is my favorite picture. So I think by now it's almost a year and a half ago. I went down to visit Walmart. Now Walmart engaged a third-party toll management service. So they had a company helping them manage their toll. The boxes you see on this screen are filled with violations from 3 to 6 months, I believe. Okay, this is a company that was doing everything they could to register their vehicles properly. Trailers, tractors, transponders, the whole 9 yards, and they still struggled with violations. I am very proud to say that Walmart is now with us. They were still deploying transponders to their trucks, but we took over their license plate management. And all of these boxes are history in envelopes, if you can see them. So this is a great success story, but I think it also points out the complexity of license plate tolling. And again, we're going to be talking about that a little bit here. But license plate tolling, even in an interoperable network, I'm not hearing a lot of conversations on license plate interoperability. It's purely transponder. So not saying that won't get fixed, but I do think that BestPass has a very much, considering the amount of vehicles that get churned in these fleets, has a long and deep history of dealing with license plates, which is going to be a big add to the interoperability network that gets stood up. So commercial fleets and license plates, here we go, segue to that. So license plates, toll by plate is a fleet reality. They have these things called trailers, there's leased equipment, there's towed equipment. All of these things can't have transponders or can't have transponders with a business rationale, right? I have talked to plenty of trucking companies that would love to put a transponder in a trailer, but the reality on the tolling side of that equation is it's going to create double bills because there's no way to easily pair up a trailer and a tractor. And the back office of a tolling agency would have to deal and throw away toll. So that is very complicated. So there is a really good example of a fleet wanting to play by the rules and the tolling authorities not being able to play by those rules when you have transponders and everything. It's not a negative, it's just a reality of the technology. That makes license plates a raw fact for fleets, okay? Trailers have license plates, towed equipment have license plates. You can't put transponders on them. They also license plates are the backup at the end of the day. If a transponder can't read, you have snow on your reader, windshield breaks and gets thrown away. That's the one image there. This happens a lot. I believe, and Heather, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Warner goes to 800 windshields per month or per quarter. right? What happens is the truck is 800 miles away from home and they get a rock and the license and the windshield breaks. Well, the guy who comes and replaces the windshield takes the windshield, the transponder, everything, and throws it away. And they put a new windshield in. Well, guess what? Without a license plate, now that vehicle is going to be in violation and or getting towed by plate. So we make sure, again, that's just a good example of why license plates are so critical on the commercial side of any system, either the current system or the future interoperable system. COVID and the AET up in New York, we saw literally overnight, they went from manned booths to AET. Okay, that created all kinds of problems for commercial fleets that were not in a managed system like BestPass. We had the plates, we properly registered them. If the vehicle did not have the proper transponder, they still were billed properly or within a reasonable amount of time, all backed up by plates. We talk trailers and towed equipment. Auto carriers are a great example of where our niche is. We actually work with auto carriers and put the transponder up in front of the car that goes over the cab, because we've noticed you put a transponder in the window on one of those trucks and it doesn't get read. So again, those trucks will also fall down to tow by plate. Prime and Target are great examples of companies that only have trailers. Both Prime and Target do not own the front part of that truck. They hire other companies to haul, and not every company plays by the toll rules. So they find themselves getting tolled or billed by plate on the trailer. So we register these trailers nationally, and they do pay a higher rate. They pay the toll by plate rate, but they don't receive the violations downstream, which makes it near impossible for them to bill the folks that are hauling their trailers. So as you can see, construction equipment is another great example. A lot of times we'll have that truck that's on the back of that flatbed, that dump truck has a license plate, and that dump truck will get billed. So a lot of times the construction haulers will register their equipment with us, so that, again, they don't receive a violation on construction equipment. They can just get the toll paid. So hopefully you get the flavor that plates are here to stay. They're always going to be part of tolling. But I think we can all agree that it won't be the primary means of tolling. It's the most expensive for everybody involved, for both the carrier and for the toll authority. So transponders are the preferred lower cost method, but they have to be properly backed up by plates. Leased equipment is another big one. We're talking with Penske Ryder, Paccar is a customer with us now. They don't necessarily want to put transponders in the window. And the reason why is their customers that lease and rent these vehicles may have their own toll account. So if you put a transponder in the window and then your customer puts a transponder in the window, you get double billed. So most of these leasing companies would rather have a toll by plate solution and deal with it that way. So I know we've had a lot of conversations on the toll side of how we can get the leasing companies to put transponders in, but from a business point of view, it's very prohibitive. There's a lot of challenges with putting transponders in leased equipment. So again, we step in, we lease trailers, we have tractors, we step in with a plate solution that covers that up. Low occurrence, local, regional, and national travel. So here's where AT&T and FedEx and UPS and tree trimmers, Con Edison, utilities, whatnot, fit in. Mutual aid events do not require a transponder put in all their vehicles, okay? They just need to know when the vehicle travels that they handle the toll properly. So this is another area where we will allow companies to register their vehicles with BestPass, and we'll make sure their plates are properly registered. In these scenarios, it's okay that the toll is more expensive. I don't think anybody's, again, questioning the toll cost. Where they struggle is 30, 60, 90 days after the mutual aid event, and they've gone back to their office and they're back to their normal business, they're receiving violations. That is what they're trying to avoid. And that is what we hope to provide. We do provide with a plate solution. Holiday shipping surge is an odd twist to this. So during the holidays, when Amazon is moving all kinds of packages everywhere, FedEx, UPS, and every kind of carrier under the sun is renting every piece of equipment from vans up to box trucks up to 5-axle vehicles. In those cases, UPS, FedEx, and companies that work in that space come to us and register these vehicles, again, so they avoid violations. They would much rather receive a clean toll by plate bill than a delayed violation for trucks that they put on their fleet short term. So now we're going to get into the commercial toll hub and kind of how BestPass sits. So the way I see it, the things panning out is that there's going to be an interoperable network that's connecting. The hubs, the regional hubs in the north, the south, the central states, and the west will eventually connect. and you will be able to take your transponder and your bill and your credit card and travel across the country. Works great for vacationers, works great for the small business travelers, salesmen, absolutely the right solution. It tends to fall apart for trucking. The toll industry challenges are going to be, probably the best example I like to point out is if a company in this future interoperable world opens up an account in Kansas with $100, they can have that truck travel the Kansas Turnpike quite a bit before they run out of that $100. Now, if that same truck picks up something and wants to deliver it to Maine, by the time they're halfway to Maine, their account in Kansas is out of funds. The biggest question I have for the interoperable network being built is who owns that contingent liability? Who owns that debt? Does Kansas have to now pay for that truck to get all the way to Maine? Or does the tolling authority that has the truck halfway across the New York State Thruway or Indiana Toll Road, do they have to eat that bad debt? There's all sorts of unique issues that come up with commercial vehicles that just don't exist for two-axle private vehicles. The question of plate interoperability, again, I just went through that. That is a question that I don't hear a lot of conversations about. How do plates work in an interoperable transponder world? Home and away facility costs. How does that work? All right, if my home office is in Florida and I receive the benefit of a local account in Florida, but my trucks are constantly driving to Texas, do I have to give up the benefit of running the Texas toll roads? That is a question that commercial companies have to face all the time. And then not all will join the NIAP. So the reality is American roads, some of the bridges between the Canada and US and Mexico and US, which simply will not join the interoperable network. So companies like BestPass fill that gap. We can create local relationships. We can create advantageous business environments for these folks where they do join us and our commercial fleets can operate. So again, what I'm proposing here is not a replacement for the interoperable network being put in place, but an alternative, a system that sits besides the current system being developed and augments it with commercial services. Beyond single device, single billing, fleets are the biggest consumer of interoperability, yet it seems to be a lot of the conversation is going towards the two-axle commuter. So, and we're okay with that. That works for us. So interoperability is more than single device, single bill, and single payment. It's customer service. Here's the other challenge in interoperability for the tolling side of the equation. If I have an account in Florida and my trucks travel through Texas up over to California to do whatever they have to do for their business, and I have an issue in California, do I call Florida? My account's in Florida. I have a SunPass account. Do I call that? That's a cost and a challenge to the interoperable network being created. Probably the Florida folks in this call center won't be able to answer that California question. So again, the interoperability is going to create the next tier of challenges for commercial fleets. National fleet local use, the loss of local benefits. So Lowe's is a good example. They may have 5 or 6 vehicles at a store that never travel more than 10 miles. Well, they should take advantage of the local discounts made available to high volume users. That can't happen if they have to operate in a network where they're getting all their transponders from, say, Texas or New York or California. They lose that. So there has to be a system that augments the existing system that provides a local benefit, but still provides the national interoperable view. And will plates will be interoperable? That's the question. We're asking that question. We don't see them interoperable now, and we don't see a lot of conversations. So that is who bills the plate toll? If every plate has to be billed local, somebody has to make sure that that plate is funded properly. That's going to be a question that's going to be dealt with in the coming years. Fleet impact on toll operators. Cost of service, we hit a lot of these contingent liabilities. Fleets will flow to the lowest cost. Here's a challenge I always like to point out. As all these tolling authorities stand up their interoperable accounts and provide transponders, I guarantee you wherever they can get the lowest cost account and the lowest cost transponders, trucking companies will park their accounts there. So that's going to be a challenge as interoperability comes forward. And NIAP introduces all of these new dynamics. They just suddenly have a small facility having tens of thousands of vehicles that never run their facility. It's just a matter of they can get the lowest cost transponders at that location. Fleets may actually opt out of interoperability solutions. So like we were showing before, the multi-protocol vehicles, they may sit there and go, I would love interoperability, but it costs me more. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to open up my local accounts and put 3 to 5 transponders in my trucks. That seems to be counterintuitive to what the industry is trying to solve, but that will happen. I mean, trucking companies will find the lowest cost solution. I'm not going to hit you with this. This is the benefits of BestPass. I think we've covered it all. We're a SaaS company. We work, I always say we dance on the head of a pin. We provide services to everybody involved, the tolling authorities and fleet. We do it very well. We have a good reputation, or at least I believe that. I do know that. We have our own 6C agency code. We are 125 is accepted nationally. We have a really good set of technology from TransCore that allows us to include CGO and TDM in a single device for vehicles that do roam the country and do business in the country. So we run the gamut of capability, and it's all focused towards fleets. Again, our customers are the fleets. So we are bending and moving and twisting for those commercial accounts. We take pride in being transparent. We consider ourselves partners to all of our tolling partners, and we have open books. We share our customers. We are not hiding anything. We do not allow our fleet customers to come to BestPass to hide bad debt. We do try to clear all of that before we bring customers under our management scheme. So in summary, I think hopefully I give everyone a good flavor of where BestPass sits in the ecosystem and toll, and I would welcome any conversation that anybody has that we want to have with BestPass. We would like to partner. We would like to make sure that the interoperable solutions being talked about as Florida joins EasyPass, we'd like to be part of those conversations. Those are key. Those will impact our customers. Our customers will impact the operations on your toll facilities. Those are all things we would very much like to be invited to participate in. NIOP and multi-protocol readers, multi-protocol transponders, and multi-protocol vehicles will all exist at the same time. You can't escape it, and you can create rules and regulations, and BestPass will follow those, but the general public will not. They will put the devices in their vehicles that make sense for them, and that includes vacationers. BestPass handles customer service, vehicle registration, funding and payment, reciprocity and bad debt, and the time demands of business for all involved. And we move money a lot quicker than a fleet would, and we balance the pre-funding requirements across the country. So with that, it's quite a bit of content. I welcome questions if there are any.
Well, thanks, John. So it is a lot of content, and we're open to any question. And I do have one that I was asked last week when I was on IBTTA meeting. But I guess to John's point, I guess of all of this is we, BestPass, and all of our customers, we want to pay our toll, and we want to find the most efficient way to pay the toll. We're trying to find transponders, plates, ways to do that. So we're open to any dialogue to help us help you reduce violations, get toll paid, and that's the win-win-win. It's a win for our customers. It's a win for for our agencies that we are working directly with, and it's a win for BestPass. So we're open to those discussions. What I was asked last week on the IBTTA call was, how does BestPass stay relevant as we move to connected vehicle or to other technology that's trying to break into the marketplace? And so I'd leave it to John and Heather to say, how do we stay relevant then as a question as we see emerging technologies and devices or connected vehicles coming into the toll space?
I'll start off. I think the best answer is that we don't see ourselves in the tolling business. I think we provide toll services. We actually see ourselves in the mobility payment space. So one of the challenges we have identified is that everybody wants to be mobility as a service. MaaS is a big thing. Everybody wants to be there. The problem is all the vendors want to be the vendor that is the mobility service provider. So what BestPass has found over the years is that we should sit above it as a mobility payments as a service provider, meaning we can bring together the mobility services into a single payment and service platform. That is really our mission. That is really what we do for tolling. And we are going to be expanding that to other mobility services such as parking, fuel, ferry operations. Those are all efforts that are coming our way. And if you can start to see that, you can see it's the movement, efficient movement of funds between a vehicle and a vendor that provides service for that vehicle, not a driver, not a company, but that vehicle. And ultimately, that's how we're going to stay relevant. It's how we've been relevant for 10 years. So we do not see ourselves as a tolling service provider.
Heather, I don't know if you have anything to add from my perspective as well. Again, what I think what John is saying is that, you know, whether it's there's no one tag to rule them all right now, and there's no one app to rule them all if you have a phone, but they all have to be, the app or the tag is only good to what it's connected and be able to clear a payment to. So that's where we think BestPass will stay relevant, because all the connections and interfaces we have, we can clear payments to any agency or service provider that we deal with. So we're kind of device agnostic in many ways as we go into the future. The devices may change and may adapt, but the payment network and the payment structure to be able to clear those payments for customers through agencies is going to remain.
And I would just add that I would say we're backbone or back office agnostic as well. That's one of the things that I think has lent to some of our success is we are not, we don't just have one way to operate. We understand that from the tolling authority to the fleet, everybody's operating in their own space. They have their own challenges. There are, you know, back office systems and contracts and AP systems and ERP. We do everything we can to pull that together and not to be specific to one method of communication or operating, but how do we create that solution? How do we pull that all together? And again, just ultimately get everybody payments and information as quickly and efficiently as possible. Where there's a problem, we like to create a solution.
And we look forward to traveling again, I think in 2021, when we can travel, and into 2022. Probably what we'll do is have discussions with some of the regional networks and interoperability groups to decide how we fit in, because right now we're local in many of those agencies, and you know, we have to find out how do they interface with us, how do we interact with them. Is it all on one agency within that interop group, or are we going to be let in as a pseudo partner, or you know, how does that architecture work so that it's a seamless experience for all the agencies in that hub and for our mutual customers and for us as well. So I think those are some of the discussions we'll look forward to in 2021 and 2022. But certainly, if there's any questions out there in the field, just let me know, or in the chat, and we're happy to answer them. Okay, let's see. One came in here. Can you see it, John, Heather? It's oh, so it's from Hugh. He asked, "How has the pandemic affected your business?"
Like I said earlier, so I would say that probably the March, April timeframe, we saw a decline in volume. But right after that, we saw volumes come right back to normal. So I always say to the team, we are very blessed to be in an industry that was actually not affected by COVID too bad. We actually grew the business. So as trucking became more and more part of our lives during COVID, and more goods were shipped to your house, from food to Amazon, our trucking volumes stayed steady, if not have grown. So very light impact, you know, a month or two.
And I think as we get back to work, you know, what we did see a slowdown in is probably some, I sit on another related organization called NASCO, the North American Strategy for Competitiveness. And so there's a big backlog in terms of factory capacity. So, you know, there are some raw materials and finished goods that never moved probably as much as we'd like. And there's a backlog of orders and demand. I think in the automobile industry, I know I see it in the RV industry for snowmobiles here in Canada, motorcycles, other things that, you know, factories that were shut down. So we did surprisingly well considering that manufacturing and the factories were lagging behind.
One thing we did see with the pandemic is we saw a push where fleets were, even though they were still falling, they were looking to manage their costs even more than they were before. So there was a lot of analysis. We got a lot of flurries of ROI and payments and savings and violations and so on and so forth. And it was good to see that the value we bring to the fleets and the operational savings. Even honestly, in places where there are no toll savings, right? Our biggest fleets can get the same savings and discounts that we could potentially provide but they recognize the benefit of having someone else manage that payment and toll, so they can do, as both John and Joe have said throughout the presentation, they can optimally run their business. And we'd like to think we do the same thing on the tolling side, right? The commercial fleets, they have more needs, they have more customer service. So if we can offload that and help make that efficient, then everybody wins.
Well, I think what's interesting here, that's a good question. And another frame of reference is that I think, John, Heather, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we may have also launched a toll by plate service during the pandemic because so many agencies went from manual toll collection or cash collection in the lanes to toll by plate. And our lead salesperson, Mike Maglioka, is now signing up some fleets on plates only, which is something we haven't done in the past. And I don't know from a revenue point of view, John, if you've seen, how that spiked, or maybe it's too soon to tell. But.
It's a unique conundrum. We are signing up more fleets by plate because they have the challenge of delayed toll by plate bills and violations. So we are seeing a spike in that, but there's a lot of trailers and leased equipment. We still see a lot of interest in transponders to get the cost down. Because again, they're trying to manage cost more than, tolling is not an integral part of their business. So they're trying to, like everything else, like fuel, like drivers, they're trying to cut the cost down. So toll by plate is an option in there, but for lower volume. So I don't see anybody wholesale moving to toll by plate as from a commercial fleet's point of view.